All right, guys. The first thing we're going to go over is your body scan. So this is a good way to like kind of take a snapshot. I used to take people into that room and we take pictures of them with their shirts off and sports bras on and like measure around the waist. This is a little less invasive. So we did the caliper test one time and the girls really enjoyed that getting fat pinched on. So this is a much more accurate snapshot of where you guys are. So the first part of this is just kind of informational. Total amount of body or water in your body. There's not really anything you can do with that number. It's just kind of interesting, right? There's no like, oh, is this enough water or too little water? It's your body just does its thing. So total amount of water in your body. I always suggest that you guys start your morning with water rather than like starting with coffee or anything else that is not water. For this challenge, we'll be doing lemon water in the morning with sea salt, which I'll talk about later. You can do it hot or cold, which is fine. Either's fine. Then we got for building muscle mass, we got dry lean mass. So this is how much material you have for creating new muscle. Body fat mass, how many pounds of body fat are on you. And then some of the above, that's your overall weight. When you guys come down here to muscle fat analysis, we have weight, skeletal muscle mass, and body fat mass. And you guys will see a little down arrow, a dash, and above arrow. So that's below average, average, and above average for people your age and height. So it gives you kind of an idea of where you stand. Skeletal muscle mass, we want this number to be as high as possible. Skeletal muscle mass is exactly what it sounds like. It's the muscles surrounding your skeleton. These are your big movers. This is what we use for squatting and pressing, pulling ourselves up. That number, we want it to be as high as possible, right? The more muscle mass you have on you, especially at a younger age, the more, as you get older, something called sarcopenia sets in, where you start to lose muscle mass over time. It's roughly like 3 to 8% per year until you hit around 60, and then it accelerates. So that's not necessarily like set in stone. You can still build muscle into old age, but you need to make sure that you continue to exercise and do things that would help maintain or build that muscle mass. Unfortunately, you'll never hit a point where you're like, good, I'm good, and now I can stop exercising. That's not a good idea. And then we have body fat mass below. Obviously, we want that number to be as low as possible while still maintaining a healthy weight. So what you want is a D shape to this curve. You can see how this person has a D shape, skeletal muscle mass as high as possible, and then you guys can see that. And then weight and body fat mass are a little bit lower. You might have a straight line right here, and you might have a C shape to the curve. The goal, if you have a C shape, is obviously to move towards the D shape. BMI is kind of a worthless number. It's just your weight over your height. If you look at this is actually my old scan. If you look at mine, it shows that I'm pre-obese or on the way to obesity, which is ridiculous. Body fat mass, or percentage body fat is going to be a little bit better. This is subcutaneous body fat, so it's not exactly a perfect measurement. So you want to be somewhere for guys, somewhere between 10 and 20%. For girls, you want to be somewhere between, I think it's 18 and 28%. Girls, naturally, you guys are different animals. You guys carry a little bit more fat, which is fine. Your girl's goal is not to get down to a guy's body fat mass. That's a bad idea. The issue with too high a percentage body fat, right, is you start to become more at risk for things like type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and things like that. You just don't want to be always carrying around a lot of weight. We want to make sure we get down to a healthy percentage body fat. Visceral body fat is the other measurement of this. We don't have that on here, unfortunately. When I bought the machine, it was like an extra $2,000 to buy the one with visceral fat, and I didn't have it at the time. But visceral fat is the thing you should pay more attention to, and that is the fat surrounding your organs. So you hear a lot of times with people with type 2 diabetes, they call it fatty liver disease. That means they have a bunch of fat surrounding their organs, which is not great. So if you ever see visceral fat come up, you go do a scan at your doctor's office or something, that's what that is. When you guys come down here to segmental lean analysis, this gives us a breakdown of how much muscle you have on each limb. We want all of these numbers to be above 100%. Above 100% means you have enough muscle on that limb to support your body weight. This will also tell you if there's imbalances. So in your arms, you'll see whatever percentage you have on each side. If there's more than a 6% difference in your arms, that's considered an imbalance. And if that's the case, you want to add in some work. So let's say my left arm is 7% weaker than my right arm. I would want to add in like bicep curls or maybe tricep extensions. Some of this could be due to a previous injury. A lot of times, I've seen it both ways, where someone's got an injury on one side and that side's more muscular because they've overcompensated to try and build it. And I've also seen an injury on that side where there's less muscle mass. When you come down to your legs, if there's more than a 3% difference in your legs, that's considered an imbalance. And the issue with imbalances is if you're favoring one side too frequently, a lot of times you can cause injury to that side or even the other side. Trunk, that should be over 100%. That just means you have enough trunk core strength to support your body weight as well. So if any of those numbers are below 100%, you can add in some extra movements, maybe doing some accessory work after class. It doesn't take very long, maybe 10 minutes, right? Especially if you're just working one side of the body. You don't need to be spending an hour on that side of your body. Any questions on that portion? Cool. When you guys come down here to body composition history, if this is your first scan, you're just gonna have one number. If this is your 10th scan, you're gonna see a bunch of numbers here, and this just tracks your progress over time. You might see there's a little shift in between life challenges. You might see a trend with yourself. That's something to pay attention to. If you've done a couple of these before, you do a life challenge and then you gain a bunch of weight, right? How can we avoid that? These life challenges are great, but the point is to try and carry things over from challenge to challenge. When you guys come back here, or come up here to body fat mass and lean body mass control, this is gonna tell you how much body fat to lose or how much lean body mass. For the body fat mass, this is trying to get guys down to 15% and girls down to 23%. All right, so if it's telling you to lose 5 pounds, that's what it would take of losing body fat to get you to 23% if you're a woman or 15% if you're a guy. When you come down to lean body mass, this is gonna tell you how much muscle to put on. This isn't exactly designed necessarily around athletes. So a lot of times it might say 0, but like I said, from a resiliency standpoint, you want to get your muscle mass as high as possible. So just because it says 0 doesn't mean there's not room for gaining weight, gaining a little bit of muscle. It's bulking season anyway. Lean body mass. So this is a cool number. If you were to remove all the fat from your body, this is how much you would weigh. All right. You don't want to be 0% body fat. You'll start having heart palpitations and having real issues with your hormones. But this is the amount of, on the other sheet, we'll have our nutrition information. This is the minimum amount of protein you need to hit. So mine says 183 in order to get your protein macro goals. All right. So that is the number that you need to hit each day, not the number that's on the nutrition sheet. So you can write that in if you guys have a pen. You guys are welcome to write in whatever that lean body mass number is, so that you know that when you hit that, you can check the box for hitting your protein macro.
This is in grams, not pounds, right?
Grams, yes, correct. If I have to eat 183 pounds of meat per day, it's rough.
Ew. I just feel a shiver.
And then below that number, you're going to see basal metabolic rate. This is also a cool number, I think. This is how many calories you burn if you're lying in bed staring at the ceiling all day. Not doing anything, this is how many calories it takes your body just to run properly. So what people will oftentimes run into is a lot of times they'll be under eating that chronically, and that's where your body will start to purge muscle. So we'll talk about this in the presentation, but the human body is incredibly smart, and it's designed to try and keep you alive. So if you're chronically under eating this basal metabolic rate, your body is perceiving that there's not enough food in the environment, and in order to keep you alive, it's going to purge muscle, because muscle is very costly and very calorically needy, I guess. So you'll purge muscle and you'll gain fat, right? And a lot of times that's not really what we're trying to do. So you need to make sure you're hitting enough calories so that your body's like, okay, there's enough food in the environment, I can get rid of some of this body fat, we can start building all the way with muscle. All right. Now, that's a little bit different from acute drops in caloric intake. Like we'll do a fast on the 3rd week, leading into the 4th week. And that's an acute drop of calories, right? And that's a really good way to cleanse the body and give it time to rest, give your gut time to rebuild. So that's different than chronically doing that. If you guys have ever played around with intermittent fasting, this can be that can be a reason to chronically be under eating. So you need to be careful with intermittent fasting. I found this out the hard way. If you're intermittent fasting all the time and you tend not to eat very much anyway, you'll find yourself not eating enough food over a long period of time, and then you'll start to have some issues. Any questions on all this? Cool. If you guys go to the other sheet, that's going to be your macros for the month. So you'll see 3 different categories there. You'll see weight loss as a priority. You'll see maintain weight, improve strength and performance, and then you'll see weight gain, muscle gain. So this is designed for however you guys want. This is based off of someone who's working out 3 to 5 days per week. You'll see a protein number there. That number, like I said, is the high end of your protein. Whatever your lean body mass was, whatever that number I told you guys to write down was, that's your low end. So as long as you hit that, check the box for protein macro. All right. Carbs and fat. Everybody's different. We all come from different genetic backgrounds. If I'm Alaskan, I'm going to handle fat much better than I am a ton of carbohydrates. If I am Eastern European, right, you can kind of play around with a little bit more carbohydrates. It also depends on the time of year, which is kind of interesting. So you guys can kind of play around with these numbers a little bit. I would try and stick to what you got on the sheet right there and just see how you feel. But especially this time of year when it's winter, right, there's not a lot of like fruiting trees other than like citrus. So naturally, if we were to live in the environment, we wouldn't be exposing ourselves to a ton of carbohydrates, right? We'd probably be more likely be eating animal protein, animal fat. So you guys can toy around with that, but just be careful. A gram of protein is 4 calories per gram. A gram of carbohydrates is 4 calories per gram, and a gram of fat is 9 calories per gram. So if you drop your carbohydrate number, just be careful you don't do the exact same amount for your fat number. Does that make sense? If I drop my carbohydrates by 20 grams and I up my fat by 20 grams, 20 times 9 is different than 20 times 4, right? So you'll be overeating, which is why it's dangerous to sit down with like a jar of peanut butter at night and just be crushing that thing. You can think like a serving of fat is your thumb, a serving of carbs is your fist. So, a little different, right? Cool. Any questions on that?
So you said a gram of protein is 4 calories.
Gram of protein is 4 calories, gram of carbs is 4 calories, gram of fat is 9. Cool.
What's the difference in like healthy fats and not healthy? Like, it's like if we eat like salmon or something, like a half a piece of salmon will like almost beat my fat goal for the day. Like,
Yeah. I mean, animal fats, avocados, coconut oil, animal like lard, and drippings like that are great. You want to stay away from the processed stuff, right? Seed oils are obviously not great for you. Olive oil's fine. Coconut oil, avocado oil's fine. The fat that's in eggs is good. The sourcing is also important. One of the things we talked about for the last life challenge is your olive oils, your fats. You want to try and get them in glass jars rather than plastic. Plastic leaches to fat. So, like the worst thing you can eat is those Kraft cheese slices that are covered in plastic because the fat absorbs the plastic, and they're individually wrapped, so you're getting a huge surface area on that. And same thing with the olive oil. You got a cheap plastic jar. That plastic is seeping into that olive oil, which is not great for you.
How do you eat cheese? It's all in plastic.
Yeah, but like a block of cheese, right, it might be wrapped in plastic, but it's just the outer layer that's wrapped in plastic versus like those thin slices. Like most of the surface area of the cheese is touching plastic. So you can't really avoid it. Like if you go into the grocery store next time, you guys look around and look at how many things are in plastic. Cottage cheese, milk cartons, like all of it is wrapped in plastic. So, unless you're gonna go milk the cow, there's gonna be
all your meats.
Yeah, all the meats, exactly. Yeah, like it's all wrapped in
At least
plastic.
there's a protein,
It's
I guess.
tough. Yeah, I was in the grocery store one night and I like looked around and I gave myself like a little panic attack. It's all in plastic. Yeah, and your vegetables and things like that. So fatty foods and highly acidic foods are dangerous to be wrapped in plastic. Even tins, they line the inside of tin cups, beer cans. Every can you drink out of is lined in plastic because liquid and metal don't mix very well, right? It'll rust. So yeah, it's tough. If you guys have water bottles, drinking cups, I would make sure they're either glass or stainless steel. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's tough. It's tough out there. Cool. So this is our 17th life challenge. Pretty exciting. I talked about this a little bit at the Christmas party, but one of the things I've really liked about being a CrossFit gym is that I think that CrossFit or functional fitness does a really good job of like wiggling the body down to its like ideal shape to do a bunch of different things, right? To do pull-ups, to do, we're gonna run a bunch in the next class, weightlifting, lifting something heavy. So what you find over time is you kind of hit this like ideal body shape so you can do a lot of different things, which I think is super cool. One of the reasons I thought it was important to kind of transition out of like the CrossFit space is to incorporate some of those other things. So what are other practices that will create a human that is resilient in a lot of different ways, not just physically fit, but also mentally fit, spiritually fit, emotionally fit? How do we work on ourselves in ways outside of just the gym? And the physical fitness side of things is a great way to work on that as well, right? Overcoming adversity, working out with your community, being a good person, those are all great things as well. But how do we, you guys are only in here for an hour a day, right, at most. So what can we do during the other 23 hours to kind of maximize our overall health and well-being? So these are all things that I've either played around with or I want to play around with. So that's what you guys are going to see as we move through this week. Over the course of those 30 days, you guys are going to work as a team. I usually split people up into 2 to 3 person teams. If you guys have somebody that you want to keep in mind, I know like Randy and Kelly wanted to work together, you guys can let me know and I'll put you guys on a team.
Patrick and I'll be together.
Yep.
Oh, nice. And I'll come up with silly team names for you guys. You guys are welcome to change
Kyle's
the team name.
favorite part.
You guys are welcome to change the team names. I don't really care. Another way you guys can think about this is like your body and your mind are the filter through which you see the world, right? So if you are sleeping poorly, chances are the world you see around you is not going to be, you're going to be kind of cranky, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Like first light bulb.
And I never get to sleep right. I always lose it.
Yeah. So if you're not exercising right, you're going to see that everything kind of relates through this. So the cleaner we can keep this vessel, the balance that we can kind of achieve is going to create balance in a lot of areas of your life. You'll be much more tolerant of other people if you're sleeping well or if you're exercising. Like I had some good girlfriends in Roanoke where I used to live, and they could always tell when I hadn't exercised in a while. I'd like just be like a little chirpy with them, and they'd be like, "You need to go run around the block or something." We'll spend the next 30 days tracking habits across 4 categories: move well, eat well, think well, and live well. Points are earned daily for specific tasks in each category. You guys will all get a spreadsheet with your name on it, and on that spreadsheet you'll see a bunch of little check mark boxes, and you just go through and you check them, and it'll calculate your scores. A lot of people like to print it out. You do need to make sure you kind of stay on top of it, because can you guys remember what you ate 3 days ago?
No.
Probably not. So if you are waiting 3 days, you're like, did I meditate 2 days ago? Did I do my breath work 2 days ago? Did I sleep? Try and kind of stay with it each day. A lot of people put it on their fridge and just kind of move through it. You can pull it up on your phone also and do that. Just make sure when you do that you've clicked your tab and that you don't go through and start clicking other people's stuff, because then you're really messing them up. We'll have weekly challenges each week. That'll be kind of bonus stuff. Like one of the first ones, I gave you guys a little sheet. We're going to go through, and I thought this was kind of cool to do at the beginning of 2025. It's kind of like a little sheet to go through, and you'll talk about like where you're trying to move, maybe what habits that you're continuing to do that you know are not leading you in the right place or not where you want to go. There'll be a video associated with this, so you guys will be able to go through this and write out like what your ideal and perfect outcome for the future is, what habits you're doing that are preventing you from moving into that direction, and what habits you want to replace. So we'll be doing that the first week, and we're gonna do a little vision board the first week as well, if you guys have never
I
done
already
vision.
made a vision board for 2025.
You just made it?
I already made it. Yeah.
Nice, cool. Well, you already get points then.
Can I get one of those sheets?
Oh, yeah. Excellent. So the move well category, I wanted to do some like balance training because I thought it'd be fun. There's a lot of people that want to work on handstand walks and handstands, so that's kind of an easy one. You guys can do that at your house. You can do it in the gym. 10 minutes. I'll probably set up the slack line if you guys have ever done a slack line before. It's like a maybe 2 or 3 inch like cord that we'll put outside, and it's good for like trying to balance on. There's the endo board up there as well. You can do that where you're just working side to side. You can do drills where you're just standing on your foot and just practicing that. Balance is incredibly important. I'm watching my parents get older, and my dad is like starting to lose his balance a little bit, and that's scary. Once you start losing your balance and you fall and break a hip, that's pretty much the end of the story. So we'll play around with that a little bit. 15 minutes of extra mobility work. I recommend you guys do it first thing in the morning or directly after class. It's nice first thing in the morning just to kind of get up and move through. It'll make the rest of your day feel a little bit better. And then, excuse me, class attendance. There is a spot in there for an hour of exercise. That is designed for people who are like traveling. I don't want you guys to I don't want you guys working out 6 days a week. You get points for consistency during the challenge. So if you work out Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you're gonna get accumulated points for that. But I expect you guys to take at least 2 rest days each week. Wednesday, Sunday is obviously like an easy one, or Thursday, Sunday. You need to give your body time to rest. If you're constantly exercising, you're just tearing yourself up. So.
How do you feel about a Saturday, Sunday rest days?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. The only issue is like if you're working out, like especially this kind of exercise, Casey does a good job of like programming in strength days, but it's not really a great idea to do like high intensity like 4 or 5 days in a row. By like the 4th day, you're not really like giving it your full intensity, you know. Hydration. So we're gonna start each day with salt water and lemon in your water. It's really good for kickstarting your digestion and balancing your electrolytes. Like I said, it can be hot or cold. You don't have to put like a crazy amount of lemon. It's not a full lemon. You can just do like a wedge of lemon. And then you guys want to make sure you're drinking half your body weight in ounces of water each day. And I would recommend putting a little pinch of sea salt in there. It's really not as bad this time of year. Usually in the summers, you're like just sweating all the time. So you need to replenish those electrolytes. This time of year, you're not sweating nearly as much unless you're doing the sauna and exercising. But it's also very easy to not drink as much water. So just make sure you guys kind of stay on that. Like this is like 30 ounces, so I need to drink like 3 of these during the day. Then I have my number. Pretty easy. Protein intake, hitting your protein macro each day. We've talked about that a little bit. Make sure you hit those grams. There's an app that I put on the sheet as well that's called Chronometer, so you can go through there and enter your food. It's got all all the food categories and things in there. So if you type in like Daisy cottage cheese, it's gonna pull up what those nutrients are, and you just put your serving size in there. If you're eating very similar things each day, like I always eat like 2 cups of cottage cheese, you can put that in as like a recipe, like 2 cups of cottage cheese, maybe a cup of blueberries. You can put that in as a recipe, and you can just go through and hit the recipe. You don't have to type in each thing every day. It's very helpful. If you've never done that before, I recommend doing it. Because most people are drastically under-eating what they think they are. Usually they're eating like way too much fat, not enough protein, maybe too many carbohydrates. So play around with that for a few weeks. Chronometer is the name of that, and it's on your macro sheet. And then clean eating, 3 servings of fruit and vegetables. This will help boost your immunity and nutrient intake. And then you also get 3 points for clean eating. So clean eating is no sugar, no alcohol, nothing ultra processed. If you look at a package label and you cannot pronounce what's on there, that's processed. All right. We do allow for protein powder. Protein powder is obviously very processed. I don't know where the protein powder tree is, but no more than like 1 protein shake a day. I don't want you drinking like 4 shakes a day. You need to have real whole foods.
What about protein bar? You're against protein bars?
Most of them are got junk in them. If it doesn't require refrigeration, it doesn't go bad. That's another easy way to think about it. If it doesn't go bad, like there's nothing in nature that doesn't really go bad. So, Velveeta cheese.
Oh, God.
It's not even really cheese.
Velveeta cheese.
What
So
Twinkies?
Twinkies, yeah.
What about like dairy or stuff like that with like cheeses or is that still clean eating or is that?
Yeah. Dairy's fine. Cheese is fine. Just be careful, like what kind of cheese you get. Like obviously American cheese is not really cheesy. Velveeta's definitely not cheese. If you're eating dairy, just be mindful of how it makes you feel. A lot of people are lactose intolerant and don't really realize it. But if you get a stomachache afterwards, like listen to your body. If you're getting a stomachache or you're farting a lot, farting is also a good signal that it's like it doesn't agree with your system. That's not just like a natural thing. I mean, it is a natural thing, but it's not like it's something to pay. Yeah, it's something to pay. Hold that shit in. Like you're dating somebody new.
So what would, if you were gonna eat cheese, because that's like a complicated one, what kind would what kind would you recommend? Is there any cheese?
Yeah, I think they're all fine. You want to try and find like good source cheese, like if it come from like grass-fed cows, obviously that's gonna be really good. Same thing with like butter, Kerrygold butter.
Where's
Yeah.
that? Like, where you find them?
Every grocery store.
Every
It's in a gold package.
Yep,
Alright.
it's at Publix.
That's a salt burger. It's delicious also.
Earthfare's got a lot of really good.
If we're not big fruit people, can we double up on the veggies or you
Sure.
have to do the?
No. Yeah, it's 3 servings of fruits or vegetables,
Okay.
or a combination of the two.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as you're hitting 3 cups each day, that's
Like
fine.
turkey taco bowls. And so it's
One thing I forgot to mention about the.
Yeah.
So, fruits and vegetables. This challenge I wanted to try and do. One of the things that I think is really cool as I've like gone through like, learning about the human body and all these things is how intuitive it all is and how perfect it all is. We're really supposed to be eating around what's available, right? So whatever is in season, that's kind of like what we're designed to eat. So I looked up what fruits and vegetables are in season for this time of year. Citrus fruits, so lemons, oranges, grapefruits, mandarins are really good fruits to go for. You notice how short that list is. So try and stick to those kinds of fruits. Like if you're always crushing bananas, it's not really banana season. Same thing for like blueberries. You know, it's not the worst thing in the world, but try and play around with eating around.
Are apples in season too right now?
I feel like they are. They're
Apples?
Fall-esque.
Fall-ish. Sure.
Just thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, that's local to like here, like in like South American places, what bananas are grown, they're technically in season.
We don't live here though. We don't live there.
Yeah, they-
So you think about how your body's reacting to the environment,
Okay,
right? It's
okay.
cold as hell
Yeah.
here, right?
When you go to Curacao, you
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Bring us
It's
some
all
stuff
bananas.
back.
I don't think it's the end of the world if you're eating things that are out of season, but it's just something to kind of play around with, right?
When are you gonna do
First of March.
Vegetables, beets, turnips, radishes, carrots, parsnips, kale, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, all these things are fine. So there's a lot more vegetables to kind of choose from. I think you're right about apples. So you can add that to the list also.
Parsnips are really good roasted like potatoes or sweet potatoes. If you guys ever try them, they're like a little nutty, and you can just dice them. Oh, they're so good.
What's kohlrabi?
I have no idea. I saw that on there also.
It's a type of like bok
Is it
choy
like a
or
broccoli?
cabbage family.
Cool. Protein. This is incredibly important, especially as you guys get older. So make sure you guys, like I mentioned, the sarcopenia, that's where you lose muscle mass over time. One of the other problems is that we start to lose our ability to process and absorb nutrients as we get older. So you need to make sure you're eating a little bit more than you normally would. It's just a really good habit to get into is making sure that your protein is being eaten first, right? The word protein is actually from Greek and it means first or primary. So that should be the first thing you eat. Make sure you're always getting your protein. It's going to help your performance in here as far as like healing and recovery goes for injuries. Yeah, there's a reason it's called first, the primary. Make sure you guys are hitting that. Like I said, you're losing about 3 to 8% per decade after the age of 30, and that accelerates after 60. So you need to make sure you're getting enough protein in there so you're not falling apart. So the Think Well category, sauna, 2 points for 20 minutes of sauna. That helps in so many different ways. We're gonna go over a sauna slide after this, but it's crazy. Sleep and circadian clock. I wanted to concentrate on this a little bit more. I was trying to go like 8+ hours of sleep this time, but it's really not necessary. You want to make sure you're hitting. You do want to make sure you're hitting at least 7. At least 7.
I get 7 every night.
10. I was gonna say I get 8
I
tonight.
get in bed at 8 and read,
And if I don't.
and I'm sound asleep at 8:30, 8:45, and I'm up by 5.
It will regulate, right? My brother used to tell me all the time, he's like, I'm a night owl, and then his work required him to go to work early, and all of a sudden he's not a night owl anymore. Especially, like I mentioned earlier, we're talking about like how intuitive the human body is. This is very unnatural. This that we have going on in modern society, incredibly unnatural. You're getting a ton of light at times that you're not supposed to get light. And I'm going to go over this a little bit, but your eye is like a master clock, and it's what sets all your hormones and everything. So you want to try and get yourself as close to as possible what the season's doing, right? So it's dark a little bit later in the morning, and it gets dark earlier at night. You need to just kind of try and treat your behaviors like you're winding down with that Think about how hard it would have been to eat food and like if you were living outside. You're not gonna eat food at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, you can't even see the food you're gonna eat. So there's no reason you should be trying to eat at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. No. Right.
We got a date.
Cancel it.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're getting up there in age, man. Dinner's at 4:30.
You're right, man.
Early bird special.
Yeah.
It's an early bird.
It's cheap too.
Yeah, they use super cheap. But you should know that shit.
No blue light before bed, so 1 hour before you go to bed, I want you guys to put your cell phones away, turn your TV off, even like your overhead lights, if you guys have LED lights in your house, I would try and maybe switch that over to like incandescent light bulbs, something that has a better balance of blue light and like the reds and oranges and things like that. Or you can get blue light blocking glasses. I don't know if you guys have seen like the real red tinted glasses. That's also, there's some cheap options out there for that as well, just so you're not getting blasted with blue light. And then the next category is 10 minutes of sunshine upon waking. This is not inside. The windows will block the good UV lights that you're trying to get. So you want to make sure you go outside on your front porch, have your coffee outside. Or if you're someone who's like working out early in the morning, cold exposure. So it can be a cold shower, 1 to 2 minutes of cold exposure. This can be cold plunge. I'm going to go over a little bit more of that as well.
Does running in the cold count?
Yeah, yeah. As long as you're in the nature and try not to like bundle up as much, like expose yourself to the cold. Same thing. We're meant to be outside. So, creating space for yourself. We're going to go over loving kindness meditation. So you get 2 points. You can do this twice per day. 20 minutes is a long time, right? So I recommend, especially for people who are kind of prone to this kind of like physical activity, you do some kind of breath work ahead of it. It gives you something to do, which is what people who gravitate towards this type of exercising like. They like to do stuff. So sitting still is like painful for a lot of people. But that's going to reduce your stress, right? The other thing that's kind of interesting is like, you know, we're going to focus, when I first opened the gym, it was like all nutrition work, right? Nutrition, exercise. These are the 2 things you need to concentrate. If you can get this, I don't understand why you're not losing weight, but stress is incredibly catabolic, meaning you purge muscle due to like stress hormones. So you want to make sure that you're balancing that. Think about what we're doing in here also. The weight's hitting the ground, it's loud as hell, the music is like going crazy, right? It is, you feel great afterwards, but it's an incredibly like stressful event. So you need to work on the balance of those 2 things. All right. And then we got 2 points for 10 minutes of decluttering and organizing. This is like really something I wanted to work on this side. So you'll see some categories of things that I do. Yeah, just the way I heard it described one time, I think it was Jordan Peterson who was talking about this, but like how many things do you like, you walk through your house and you see something that you like know you need to do. Every time you do that, you're just like pissing away a little bit of your energy, right? Rather than going and like taking care of it and like calming your mind about that thing, every time you walk by, you're just like, oh, this thing, and you just do that over and over and over again. So this is a good opportunity for you guys to take a couple minutes each day and just take care of those like little things you don't want to take care of. Sleep hygiene. Make sure you guys are trying to set a sleep schedule for yourself. This goes along with like regulating your hormones. So pick a time. I don't care what it is, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Try and make sure you're getting your 7 hours in. You need to try and pick a time and see if you can stick to that, including the weekends, right? So you're setting your clock during the week, 5 days a week, and then you stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, and your whole clock's fucked, right? So try and get into a good sleep schedule. If you can't sleep, like the bed is designed for sleep and sex, right? So if you're maybe a little bit of reading, right? Yeah. So if you're up and like agitated, don't stay in your bed because then your brain is associating your bed with like agitation, right, and not sleep. So if you can't sleep, that's fine. Get up, move around, draw, read a book, whatever it needs to do. But try and keep it for just those things. Taking your TV out of your room. Electronics, if you guys have a clock, try and use that clock instead of like your cell phone. This is like tough, right? Everybody, it's so easy to pull your cell phone out and look at Instagram 100 times before you like go to sleep. And then what's the first thing you do in the morning? Pull it up, like look at the news, like what's happening. Try and separate yourself from that. What else? Exercise, you guys already do that. If you want to kind of try and keep a sleep diary, you can do that as well to track how you sleep. There's a little portion on the Excel spreadsheet where it says mood. You can change that if you want to and put sleep, and you can break your sleep each night if that helps. Alcohol, THC, nicotine, all these things will mess your sleep patterns up as well. A lot of people use THC as a way to like fall asleep, but if you ever like track your sleep on one of those like tracking apps, you'll see that your sleep patterns are all over the place. If you track it on a normal night, you'll see these nice rolling waves as you go through REM cycle and deep sleep and all those things. And if you're drinking alcohol or THC or nicotine, you'll see these like real jagged lines. So if you guys have a sleep tracker, I'd recommend trying it out. They also have apps. Well, this is looking to have your phone on it, but I've used apps before as well where you put your phone like on the bed and it'll track how much you're like moving at night. It doesn't really work if you have someone else in bed with you.
Or dog.
Or dog, yeah.
Melatonin work pretty well.
Melatonin, yeah. I was just listening to a podcast that the guy was saying that if you eat melatonin, your liver will process like 60 to 80% of it, and you'll lose that. So he recommended a suppository. So that's the sunlight thing is incredibly important for setting your melatonin levels at night. Right, so if you get up and you expose yourself to bright lights in the morning in the direct sunlight, it'll help you create melatonin as you go to bed. It's interesting how that works.
Hey,
Yep.
so you're talking about with the sleep stuff, trying to go to bed at the same time, but what about getting up? Like, if you get up, like I get up at 5 to come work out 3, 4, 5 days a week, but then the weekend if I sleep until like 8 or 9, is that going to mess with me trying to get up?
I think that's probably going to be a little bit easier on you than the nighttime thing.
Okay.
Yeah, at least control what you can control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for snooze? Don't do it.
Don't.
Yeah, if your cell phone's not near your bed.
You have to go.
So
I have an awful problem with snoozing my alarm. There is an alarm clock. I wouldn't try. I can't try because the dogs would eat it, but it sits on the ground, and when it goes off, it rolls away from it, like moves, and it'll roll away from you, and you have to get out of bed and like.
Was it clock?
It's an alarm clock that rolls.
My wife would
It
kill me.
moves.
My wife would kill me.
Yeah.
She would go under the bed, turn it off.
Eventually it has to stop me. I can't. But it's like a Roomba thing that it like moves
So you
around.
catch it, you gotta run around the house to get it.
Yeah.
How does it work?
So you don't by the time you're awake.
Oh, okay. I would like
Because
run off.
that's like my toxic trait.
Okay.
Besides snooze
Smells like
alarm.
super fast,
And
shakes
I don't even know I do it.
Caffeine.
This morning.
Caffeine, not afternoon. Right, the half-life of caffeine is like 6 or 7 hours or something crazy. So if you're drinking a cup of coffee at like 2 o'clock, you're still going to be caffeinated by the time you try and go to bed. So try and cut it off at noon. And just be careful, right? There's caffeine in a lot of different things. I kind of mentioned like the circadian clock, right? When you get that bright early sun in the morning, there was an interesting article that was talking about like the brightness. They measure brightness in lumens, I believe is what it's called. And even in here where there's like a lot of light, it's not even close to what the light you get outside. So make sure it's like direct sunlight. Even if you go out on a cloudy day, it's still more light than you're getting in here, right? It just, nature is incredible in that way.
So just for clarification, like where I live, I've got lots of like huge trees around me, so I can't get the sun, but you're saying just going out and being out, okay, so it's not literally you have to stare at the sun.
No. Yeah, don't
We're all blind.
Well, it is a challenge.
There is something called sun gazing, and that's where you look at the sun as it's coming over the horizon. And the interesting thing about the sun is that when it's coming through, like when the sun's coming up on the horizon, there's so much atmosphere between you and where the sun's rising. That's why the sun looks red, because the only light that's coming through is the red wavelengths, right? And then as it rises, you start to see more orange and yellow, right? Ultimately. Because those are shorter and shorter wavelengths. The interesting thing about blue light and why it's messing with us so bad is you really only get a ton of blue light when the sun's at the peak, right? When it's at noon. So that's why phones and TVs are so dangerous, because it's not noon, but you're signaling to your body that it's noon. That's why it like jacks you up. And you guys can do a little experiment with this, right? Like go to sleep at night. If you wake up in the middle of the night before the challenge starts, the next 2 nights, look at your phone and how much like it wakes you up. So you're messing with all your hormonal functions, your rest and recovery, all of it gets screwed up.
So
It's
the
quite
TV
fun.
should go off at a certain regular time every night too, right?
Yeah, an hour before bed. Yeah, an hour before bed. And blue light blocking glasses, stuff like that helps, but it's not for 5 years.
I need the ring going. I have ring.
Yeah, so as far as like, the other thing that's interesting too about this, right? So so sunlight helps mitochondrial function. Your mitochondria is like the powerhouse for your cells, gives you all your energy. People who live in the northern atmospheres, who don't get exposed to much sunlight, you know what else raises your mitochondrial function? Cold. So if in the absence of sunlight, if you can expose yourself to cold, you're gonna get a lot of those benefits as well. Said, nature's like pretty smart. But both of these things will help you guys with chronic inflammation. Try and get about 10 to 20 minutes of sunlight first thing in the morning. Cold showers, like it doesn't have to be the cold plunge. 1 to 2 minutes of cold water in the morning will help with your mitochondrial function as well. You can see this is kind of cool too. This is like the cycles for humans as far as like how our body works and kind of like ideal states. So like sharpest rise in blood pressure is like first thing in the morning. It's what helps wake you up. Your melatonin stops. Bowel movements, your high testosterone secretion for guys. So guys, if you're not waking up with an erection in the morning, that's like a sign that your body is like not actually in great health. It's like the dipstick for your health, which is funny.
Is that fun?
Huh?
Is that fun?
Uh,
Alright, that's good. That's good.
Super interesting, yeah. So if you're if your man's not waking up with erections, there's a problem. High alertness, you can see where your best coordination times are, fastest reaction times. 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I thought this was interesting. It was greatest for cardiovascular efficiency and muscle strength. Highest blood pressure is roughly 630. And then body temperature is a really good way to regulate your sleep as well. So naturally, if you're outside and the sun starts to go down, the temperature drops, right? And that signals to your body to secrete melatonin. So it's very important at night that you guys cut the temperature down in your house, and that'll help you fall asleep. Ideal temperature is somewhere between 67 and 69 degrees. You can bundle up, whatever you need to as far as like your bed goes, but sleeping hot is like one of the worst things you can do. Cool. Yeah, there's where we go. Yeah, I put a little cartoon up there because I thought that's one of the death warrant ever. That's enough of it. The benefits of Sonar are insane. It is definitely one of the best things you guys can do for your overall health. This is like a crazy thing that's all over the place. And I'm not really sure how this works, but just using it 2 to 3 times a week is a 24% reduction in all-cause mortality. So I always think about car accidents. I'm like, even car accidents?
Makes you more patient with people.
And if you're using it 4 to 7 times per week, it's a 40% reduction in your likelihood of dying from anything, right? Well, probably not car accidents, but anything like, normal reason. For cardiovascular health, it's 27 and 50% respectively for 2 to 3 times a week versus 4 to 5 times a week. For Alzheimer's, it was 20% less for those using this on 9 times per month, and 65% reduction in your likelihood of getting Alzheimer's if you're using it 4 to 7 times per week.
How many minutes?
You're shooting for 20 plus. 20 plus. Yeah, stress reduction, improved sleep, muscle relaxation, pain relief. If you're doing it after you exercise, you'll be drastically less sore, especially if you combine that with cold plunge. Don't cold plunge after you work out, before you work out, or 6 hours after you work out. Yeah, weight loss, enhanced athletic recovery, cardiovascular health support, reducing inflammation, easing menopause symptoms, which I hadn't seen before, but the lesson is it's pretty silly not to use it. It is silly. It's right out there, go use it. You guys can come at any time. It's always back there, weekends, whatever. Go back there and use it. Cool. This one I was really pretty excited about as well. So we're going to do some loving kindness, or it's also called meta meditation. I encourage you guys, for any of these things that seem like a little off, go read about it. That'll help kind of like excite you about these things. So in loving kindness meditations, you're sitting obviously in kind of a meditative state, and you start to, sometimes it's very hard for people to work on themselves first, so you can like think about someone you love deeply, right? And then you just wish them well, right? So may you be healthy, may you be well, may you be wealthy, may you be wise, may like just whatever you want, right? But the idea is to try and find like 3 or 4 things you want to repeat and just do that over and over and over again with that person's mind. Or that person in mind, in your mental eye. And then you can bring it into yourself if that feels like a good time. May I be healthy, may I be wealthy, may I be wise, do it over and over again. And as you do that, you're sending signals to your body, right? Think about how when you feel stressed, right, how your whole body gets involved, right? Same thing. You're balancing that stress with giving yourself well wishes, and there's incredible health benefits to that. It'll also make you a more compassionate person. If you're spending a lot of your time wishing other people well, it's very hard to like encounter somebody and be like, fuck you, know? Like you're just drilling, you're just drilling this like positivity into yourself. You'll find out. You'll find out. I mean, I doubt you've been doing loving kindness meditation. So exactly. Exactly. And honestly, one of the things I'll notice the quickest is if I'm not meditating on a daily basis, how reactive I become in traffic. That is a real easy one to notice the difference. So as you guys move through this month, just notice how you are, especially in that situation. The monkey mind has a real hard time when driving 60 miles per hour, you know, in the wrong direction as other people driving 60 miles per hour. Like everything feels kind of like life or death, even though it's very normal to us. But that is a very odd thing for us to be experiencing as humans. Yeah, reduce your stress, improve focus, clarity, increases resilience. It'll change your brain also. Emotional healing, things like grudges and things like that, maybe you've been holding on to. If you're holding on to like anything like that, a grudge, you know, an ex-partner that like slighted you in some way, the body is holding on to that stress. And this is a really good way of alleviating that, as well as things like breath work. Cardiovascular health, stress hormones, like there's really nothing it does not help in your system. And it's just a really nice practice. It's a really nice practice to wish other people well. So breath work, I kind of already mentioned this, is like being a really good thing for people who are kind of like type A personalities and who like to do things. A couple of things I've noticed in the last like 10 years that like really move the needle. Like last time we did like the turmeric and black pepper supplement, right? I didn't really notice it moved the needle too much. It was just kind of an experiment, so I don't take that anymore. But breath work has made a huge difference. Not just in like stress levels and things like that, but even just like you breathe. I think it's like 26,000 times per day or something insane. When you do deep breath work through your nose, it actually opens up all your sinus cavities. It'll make it easier for you to breathe. You're less likely to get sick. The last few years that I've been doing this consistently, I don't get allergies anymore because you're opening everything up. And you can think about like having a tiny straw, and if you fill it with something like pollen or something, like you develop mucus and it gets stuck. But if you can open up all your sinus cavities to be much bigger, right? Even if I'm probably still reacting to the pollen, there's just more room in there for me to breathe as I move through that. So it's very beneficial.
I was sitting next to a kindergartner.
Let's give
Like a 12-year-old. A 12-year-old.
I even tried to cover my face.
Boy.
As far as like athletic capacity,
I had the same
It
thought,
was
alright?
surprising.
Improved sex bullet point too.
So reduction in inflammation, improves your cognitive function, it'll increase your calmness. Like there's really, it's just like loving kindness meditation. There's really no part of your body this does not benefit. Yeah, it's quite crazy. I even put improved sex in there as well. Once you guys kind of get in contact with your breath when you're moving through, we're all adults here, right? As you're moving through like a sexual experience, you can kind of control where and when you orgasm. Not where, but when you orgasm. Just through controlling your breath. Right? So you're not biting your knuckles anymore, but you just modulate your breathing a little bit. Yeah, exactly. And you can really, I've done this example with people before, you can really modulate your moods as well. So if you find yourself in a highly stressed situation, a lot of times you'll go to like shallow, kind of like panic breathing, like breathing into your chest. And the more you practice breath work, the easier it is to recognize your stress and just take a few deep breaths. This is helpful for me because I get excited when I talk. One of the easiest ones you can do is a double inhale, exhale. So we'll do it real quick. You're gonna go, close your eyes. Just notice how your body feels. We'll do two more. Last one. always there. You can always play with it. It's very helpful. I'll give you guys a few different things that you guys can move through that. Different like breathwork techniques. Some people prefer some over others.
Are you gonna have any, like, classes through the 30 days in it?
Yeah, I'll do one.
Like, it was very trippy, that guy that came and did the
Yeah.
hour and a half class.
Yeah. I heard an interesting observation the other day. They were talking about like how important the breath is, and we kind of think about taking the breath in as just being oxygen. But he was saying like, if you choke somebody out, right, and they lose their breath, they'll pass out, but all your organs and everything still run. Everything's still moving, no big deal, But you lose consciousness. And he was saying like breath work is actually taking in consciousness. And that's why doing something like what Brian takes people through, you're pulling in, like when we exercise, right? You're expending a lot of energy, you're taking a lot of breaths in, but you're also expending a lot of energy, so you kind of hit this like plateau and you feel really good after you work out because you've taken in so much energy. When you're doing breath work like that and you're lying down or you're sitting in the lotus position and you're taking in an enormous amount of energy, you're pulling all the universe around you into your body, and a lot of times that'll lead to expanded states of consciousness, to profound peace, profound love. When we've done that breath work and stuff before, you can tap into old memories, like experience your own childbirth. Like it sounds like a crazy thing, but if you do enough deep breath work, things like that kind of pop up.
What if you take acid while doing it?
Definitely. You're definitely gonna see some things.
Okay.
That's not part of the challenge.
Yeah.
This is clean.
Weekly challenge?
Weekly acid trip.
Yeah, with psychedelics and things like that, I have a ton of interest in that. They actually call psychedelics entheogens, which I think is interesting. It's discovering the divine within, right? And so you can do that with things like plant medicine, and that's what a lot of people experience as they go through those things. I've done a lot of that kind of work, and I've experienced the exact same things, like in the hardest, like DMT trips, that I have in breathwork. I've experienced the same things because it all comes back to that. So if you're not interested in plant medicine or things like that kind of scare you, breathwork. It's there, it's free. Keep an eye on your own supply. We talked about coherence and discoherence in the human body. So think about ease and dis-ease, right? Disease is your body not at ease, right? So how do we balance those things? Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah, right? So think about like class, like I mentioned, loud barbells, loud music, right? There's not a lot of ease in the body as you're moving through like a hard power clean workout, and that's why we try and balance it at the end, right? That is very important at the end of class, that you lie still, take some deep breaths, and calm your nervous system down, so you're not walking into your day or driving in your car like screaming at people because your whole body is like out of order essentially. So that's the balancing aspect of that, and you can do that personally, and as you do that more and more personally, you balance yourself out and find that ease in yourself that helps all the people around you, right? If you're agitated, right, people can sense that. They can feel your agitation, and so you're making everybody else at unease, I guess, by having yourself a disease. So try and balance yourself out. One of the things also I'm going to put up there is if, for the loving kindness work, you can consider it like prayer. If you guys will put it in my group me, if there's somebody in your life that you'd like us to like pray for, or wish loving wishes for, prayer can be kind of a tough word for some people. Put their information down. Even if you don't know what they look like, if you want to throw a picture in of them, that's also good. There's something called the Maharishi effect. Have you guys ever heard of this before? So Maharishi was this guy who taught transcendental meditation, and they would get these big groups of people together, and they would meditate on like a city, like Washington, D.C., I think is the city they used. And they would just meditate all together, and they would like wish for the city to lower like crime rates and things like that. And they were able to measure a significant amount of crime dissipation just by doing that constantly. So there is power in that. There's a lot of power in that. So
How many people were in this group?
I think it was like 2,000.
So we
It's a lot.
couldn't do that.
No, for sure. Yeah. From what I understand,
For the Same day.
I don't get too much into the religious side of things, but
Green Bay plays tomorrow, 4:30.
there is something to that though. Think about how stadiums are like organized, right?
Yeah.
A ton of people, it's a ton of energy pouring into that place. So there is momentum, right? You get momentum, you get like, shifts and like, yeah,
Is
that
that like
stuff's,
the home team advantage?
that stuff's, yeah, for sure.
But
That
I've
stuff's
also been
all,
with 80,000 people got my ass kicked. So.
yeah. I mean, that's all very real. Those things are all very real. So it's, yeah, it seems a little out there. I was just telling Alan about this last night. You guys heard of the telepathy tapes? So this is a new podcast that just came out, and it's this woman who studies children with autism, and she's gone around the country, and what they're discovering is that a lot of these children who parents think are nonverbal and not able to communicate with them are actually telepathic in some ways. Yeah, and they're doing all these studies on these kids. One of them I found was pretty interesting. The mother wasn't even speaking to the child. The child's got like a writing pad, they're nonverbal, and the mother's asking the child questions just in her mind, and the kid will write out the answers. So there is something else going on here. We've all been in a room with somebody and we could feel their energy coming off them, right? A lot of times we attribute it to like how their face looks, but you can feel those things, right? You can feel, there's something there. It's worth kind of checking out. The Maharishi effect, if you guys want to look it up, and the telepathy tapes. Decluttering and organizing, same thing. If you're walking around, like I mentioned earlier, and there's like mess going around, right, that tends to like irritate your system. So we'll spend some time doing that. I would like for you guys to start with decluttering. Go through, you got tabletops and stuff that are filled with stuff. You got the junk drawer, maybe go through and like organize that a little bit. And then move into organizing those things. Take some stuff to Goodwill. It's the winter time. It's naturally a good time for like removing things out of your life, especially if you're not using them anymore. Seinfeld's got a really good skit about that. Like your house is a giant junk factory. It starts in your house, then it moves to the garage, and then it's worth checking out. It can also feel really good to donate things to other people that are in need. And then you guys can move on to planning. So once you've like decluttered the things around you, plan a trip, plan a course you want to take, maybe whatever you want, right? So it's 10 minutes per day, but I'll allow.
Planning is part of decluttering?
Yeah. I want you guys to do the decluttering, organizing, and then like planning. Try and keep it in like that order. So it could be planning your day, planning your schedule, whatever it is, and I'll allow you guys to kind of stack those. Careful how I say this, but I'll allow you to stack those. So let's say you go into your garage and you spend 2 hours cleaning your garage. It's not going to carry over week to week, but you can use that for the 10 minutes per day. Does that make sense? Because some of these projects are not 10 minutes.
I work with children, so my office gets like destroyed, and I clean up and organize, put all my little things back. Does that count?
Yeah.
Even if it's like
It's
out
your
of
office.
necessity?
Yeah.
I like have to do it.
Yeah, that's okay. I would urge you to.
Kids' toys, yeah.
I would-
That makes your life better when
Yeah.
you like clean up all of that
Yeah.
stuff, like
Organize
that
all my little
ease.
miniatures.
Yeah.
I would urge you to not just do that because that's like out of necessity, but also the things that you know, like the things that are not necessary at your house, but they're like there, and they're wearing on you a little bit. This area up here for me, that's my area.
I'm excited.
Christina there.
I don't know if I get to have to start my house, but.
Don't give me excuses.
We'll have some weekly challenges as well. Those are worth 30 points. So it might be podcasts, might be videos, might be like the vision board we're going to do. We're also going to do a life challenge potluck the second week. We've done this once before. So if you guys have like favorite recipes or like a snack you really enjoy, we'll have you guys write down the recipes, bring in your food, we'll all get together and hang out. Sorry.
I'm bringing a veggie tray.
I was mentioning that to Alma before, that there should be like a CrossFit, make up a little recipe book to help people out with the challenges.
Yeah. I mean, I have you guys will see it on the link, the group me link. There's a recipe book, and I actually put pictures of those recipes that we did last time on there. So we can do the same thing this time. We'll just kind of build on it. This is tough. You are attempting to change, and if nothing in your environment changes, it's very difficult to get out of those habits. So when you guys go home, when I send you guys the video for this thing, it's a good idea to maybe rearrange things. So you can like kind of start a new chapter almost. Might be rearranging your furniture in your house, maybe put up a new wall decoration, maybe it's taking your vision board and putting it up in your living room. change something about your environment and how you do things. It can be helpful in changing your patterns. Try and make it simple and actionable. Like, make it, you'll see this on the tip sheet as well, like, make it attractive. Whatever new habit you're trying to do, maybe take a meditation pillow, put it in the corner where you haven't meditated before. If it's something that you're trying to get rid of, let's say it's like video games or like watching TV at night, like hide your remote control. Like, make things a little bit harder just so you're not like gravitating towards your old patterns. You gotta build these like grooves through your brain over time, and it's very hard to get out of those things. Same thing with like building new habits. You don't have to like fight to like build a new habit for a long period of time. Once you do it like a certain number of days in a row, it becomes kind of like second nature, right? You don't really think about brushing your teeth anymore or tying your shoes because you built that pattern so much. It's not like a drag on your system. But sitting down to meditate for the first like few times might be kind of tough, and your body's gonna say like, don't listen to the negotiation, right? You're like, I should meditate, and like go. A lot of times you'll say, I should go meditate, and then you're like, but what if we go to the fridge instead? Don't listen to the but, just go straight for the first thing. So, focus on consistency and progress over perfection. Don't get manic about this thing. Like, it's great if you win the challenge, but it doesn't have to. It's not the most important thing in the world. It's not the most important thing in the world. Just work on that consistency factor, and those points, like I said, stack. So if you do your meditation on Monday and then you do it on Tuesday, you're gonna get 3 points on the first day and like 6 points on the second day. Not like 3 + 3 = 6, but like 3 + 6 = 9. So it's going to stack each day. So the more consistent you are throughout the week, the more points you're gonna get for that habit. All right. The other thing, like I said, breaking scripts of your life, introducing novelty. Breaking your scripts with family and friends can be very challenging. Like, I pretty much like cut out drinking, and that was very difficult for the people around me. So don't be surprised if your partner is like irritated by you. It can be very challenging because your scripts, the things that you're like used to doing, your partner is also used to you doing those things. And when you change that, it can be a little alarming. They can feel like they're being left behind, or like you're not the same person, and it's okay. Just allow that to happen. You'll rub off on them eventually, or you won't. I always try to come up with like a little quote or something to kind of go along with the challenge, and this is the one I thought was pretty cool. The day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. So do not expect like massive change on like the first week, right? It takes time. These things take time. It takes consistency. Enjoy it. Learn about it. If there's a habit that you're like, this is stupid, go read about it. Something will like click for me, you know, the ease versus disease thing. Something might be like, oh, light bulb, you know. So yeah, there's going to be a group me page. So on the challenge sheet, you guys will all get a link to this sheet. You guys will all get a link to this sheet with your names and everything up here. I'm going to put your teams here once I've got everybody that I know is going to do the challenge, and then down here are going to be all the categories, so you guys can see where you're getting points for and how much they're each worth. And then over here, you're going to see a tip sheet. You can go through that. That's just something we've compiled over time. It'll give you guys some different tips for each category to kind of go through. And then there's a group me page. The group me is as successful or unsuccessful as you guys want it to be. Try and get in there, and you have to post. Once you join the group, you need to post something. Otherwise, it kicks you out of the group after like a certain number of time. So go in there and post something. Get with your partner, chat with your partner. Like, the more you can kind of make it a communal thing, the more fun it is. I know the notification thing is kind of annoying. Just make sure that you kind of like check it out periodically. You might see a new recipe or something there. And I'll be asking you guys to like post in there for the challenges. Like, take a picture of your vision board. Like, show us what it's about. All right. Cool. Excellent. There's also recipes in here as well. The slow carb recipes, those are for like lower carbohydrate recipes, which are good for this time of year. So yeah, enjoy. 30 days. Let's do it. Any questions?
It starts Monday?
Starts Monday, yes. So go to your grocery shopping Sunday. Find bulk recipes, like make chili or something you can eat a lot of. If you get caught without food, it can be very challenging to like find food. You don't want to get caught hangry. Try and cook in as much as you can. You'll save a lot of money, and chances are you're going to eat healthier foods. A lot of restaurants use seed oils and things that you don't really want to be putting in your body, so it's best if you cook your food because then you know where it comes from.
When technically is it over?
February 11th. I think is-
So, what if we're going to Morocco that last week and you're not gonna be here?
We can do your scan before the end of it.
Okay.
And then you can keep up with your points as far as like, you can still
You're
meditate. in
saying
Morocco.
stuff there. Yeah. Okay. I was-
Yeah, we'll do a scan at the end. We'll do a fast at the end. There's some things we kind of do every time.
48 hours.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what we're gonna do. Usually I do like a t-shirt or something. I'm not really sure what we're gonna do. I might do like a tumbler type thing. If you guys have any suggestions, I think it's like 20, 30 bucks.
Thank you.
Your t-shirts are always the best.
The t-shirts. Yeah, this is one of the ones we did last time. So. Ha! Nice. Cool. Awesome, guys. If you guys have questions, I am available, right? So you guys can shoot me emails with questions or anything.